Ladies and gentlemen, the MMATakeover.com presents our interview of the week, and we have a fighter who's 8-1 and is scheduled to make his UFC debut next Sunday versus Jakar Close. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you Devin Powell. Devin, how you doing today?
Great, yourself.
I'm doing very well. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to talk with us. First question is always a very simple one. Just how did you get started in mixed martial arts?
I got started in mixed martial arts close to a decade ago now. I used to work at a passport center, and I really hated it. It was boring, monotonous work, and a lot of people were complacent with being there and kind of just going on with their day-to-day, getting older, not doing anything exciting. I used to play music when I was younger and perform in front of audiences, and really enjoyed that atmosphere, and I wanted to find something exciting, so every night I would come home from second shift, and I would see WEC Wreckage, and I'd see Carlos Condit ripping it up, and he was actually the biggest inspiration for me to go try mixed martial arts. I just fell in love with it, and I kept going. After the first day, I went to my old gym, Seacoast MMA and BJJ.
Talk a little bit about, you train in Maine. Talk to us a little bit about some of your coaches and if there's anybody in the Maine scene that we should be on looking out for coming up here soon.
Yeah, I own my own academy, No Stoats MMA. That's actually in Somersworth, New Hampshire, but I live in Maine. I am a black belt under Port City, New Hampshire, and they're all phenomenal jiu-jitsu elitists. My coach, Jay Mansfield, he is the one that corners me in my fights alongside Adam Rivera and Keegan Horns, who are all just really, really talented with the fight game. There are plenty of fighters out there that are making a splash in the Northeast. I'd say Jesse Erickson and Ryan Sanders are two really well-known names for the state of Maine that are doing well and can definitely achieve a lot in the sport. Aaron Lee's coming up, Josh Harvey's coming up, both undefeated. But yeah, I mean, I got a lot of different coaches helping me out, getting ready for the fight. Some old school boxing guys, Chris Kimber, Billy Rollins are all coming down and working with me, and alongside all the other guys that have been coming down. Jared Lawton from his academy, Lawton Martial Arts. He's a phenomenal black belt that's fought for a while, but more of a jiu-jitsu guy. Real good black belt. So I'm getting millions of different looks from different people. As far as competition, those guys are definitely up and coming or have been there a while, just haven't gotten their shot yet.
How long is the drive you make from Maine, and how often do you do that every week?
The drive isn't far from me. I live on the border of New Hampshire pretty much, so I'm like 20 minutes away to my academy at the most.
Well, I guess the biggest story about how your name has got out there is you were on the Dana White show looking for a fight. Now, in your last event, the camera crews were there. Did you know beforehand that there was a possibility that Dana White and his crew was going to show up, or was that a surprise when you came to the arena that night?
Was it a surprise that they were there, or that they were going to be interested in me?
I guess both. I mean, did you know before you signed up for this event and who you're going to fight that Dana White will be there looking at fighters?
Yeah, I did. I basically had a 3-week camp for this fight. I came off my World Series of Fighting win, pretty beat up. My 3 fights prior to that one, I was definitely hurting the whole time preparing for them. My back and everything was real rough shape, and I also I hurt my foot really bad in World Series of Fighting, so I took a month off from hard training, just taught at my academy, trained really light. And then I was out at a show enjoying myself with friends, and I got a call saying that somebody got hurt for the Dana White Looking for a Fight NEF show. So basically I had to hop on the opportunity, even though it was going to be a short camp. So went in there with that mentality, knowing it was kind of one of the few times you can really catch a break if you go all in and you perform well.
Now, did you feel any pressure fighting in front of Dana White?
Did I or do I?
Did you that night? Like you're about to go in, you see Matt Serra, you see Dana White. I mean, what's going through your mind?
There's definitely some added pressure. It's not as much as you might imagine, just because it's something that it's not like a spelling bee or something. I'm going into a fist fight, so the cage gets locked, and you really focus on that person that's opposing you. That's really the biggest thing. Prior to it, it goes through your head a little bit, thinking you don't want to blow your shot and all that. But when it comes to actually competing, it kind of gets thrown to the back burner. Once I started getting hit in the face, and once I broke my nose, I definitely forgot about Dana White being there for the time being.
Well, I guess my next question is, how is the nose doing?
It's fine. I haven't had any issues with it since I let it heal up. I also tore my LCL in that fight, but I let that heal, obviously, and everything's good to go now.
I guess if you did watch the Looking for a Fight show, there's a moment when you're there with your friends and family after the fight, and Dana White walks in, and you have a little one-on-one time. Tell me a little bit about that moment, and is that something you'll remember forever?
Yeah, absolutely. I went through the fight. It was obviously a very tough fight with a tough opponent, John Lemke. I got my nose broken, got my hand raised, and I went out and I basically sat on the floor. My knee was torn. I didn't know exactly what was wrong with it, but I was just sitting on the floor bleeding. My daughter was there. She's only 4. She's almost 5 now, but she was looking at me, and even though I won, it's still kind of stressful. My daughter's kind of afraid of me. I'm covered in blood, and all alone, except some friends and family that are going to come see me right after I fight. You don't really know what's going to happen after, but it's one of those things that if you didn't come talk to me, I kind of question what else you have to do to get a chance, because I put a lot on the line, accepting the fight, and then in the fight itself, obviously risking your well-being, tearing my knee, breaking my nose. To not get a contract after definitely would have been devastating.
Now, how long? Sorry, you can keep going.
Yeah, I was just saying. So whenever he did walk in the room, it was definitely a huge sigh of relief, and it felt appropriate to get it. I definitely felt like I earned it. I was hoping some of the other guys would get a little bit more love, but I mean, there's only so much time on the show. I definitely hope Ryan Sanders gets his shot in the near future. He fought right after me, and he had an incredible performance.
So how long after that, because Dana White says we'll be in touch, how long after that did he eventually reach out to you and said, hey, I want to put you on this card?
Well, I got a call from Joe Silva a week later to sign me to the UFC, but I didn't have anything scheduled because they wanted the show to come out prior. So it was a few months after that I actually got an opponent.
All right, Devin, this is Keith Schillen here. My first question to you is you're facing Jakar Close. What do you know about your opponent? How much film have you seen of him, and what weaknesses do you see?
I don't watch much film, to be honest. I watch what my coaches tell me. They kind of force me to watch, but I trust and confide in them. I let them watch and study, and will drill things that they want me to drill. I really try and fight with like an organic flow. I don't usually look for anything specific. I kind of just get into a fight and play it out like a chess match, a very violent, bloody version of chess. And with him, I know he's a great wrestler. He doesn't use his wrestling too often. He did in his last fight against a tall opponent, held him on the cage. Expecting him to have that strong wrestler pressure. He comes in aggressively. He's got power punches for sure, good low kicks. I mean, he's a UFC fighter. So he's going to be good. Everybody's good. Just go in there and fight my fight and do everything I can to get my hand raised.
Now, do you have any wrestling background?
Nope, not a wrestler.
No, not a wrestler. My next question is you originally scheduled to face Jordan Rinaldi. He got switched to Jakar. What changes have you had to make in that gym, if anything?
I'm expecting him to come at me like a freight train, more so than Jordan Rinaldi. Jordan Rinaldi was a great opponent. He just was more of a submission guy, and his striking wasn't quite as knockout friendly. So I wasn't as wasn't as tentative to be in the pocket with him, but there's definitely more distance that's going to be involved in this fight.
Do you expect this fight to be more difficult than if you fought Rinaldi?
I don't think it'll be more difficult. I think it'll be different. That's all.
Okay.
Different style.
I'm sure your camp is probably getting wrapped up. You're probably just at the point where you got to start cutting weight and everything. You're scheduled to fight at 155. Are you one of these guys who cuts a lot of weight, or are you one of these guys who come in a little lighter? What is your current weight?
I'm waking up at 66.6. That's probably being a little bit dehydrated since I train so late at night. I try not to cut a ton of weight. I hate cutting weight, and I hate that it's part of the sport. I would love to fight at 170 and do same-day weigh-ins. I just don't know if that'll ever happen. But I don't like the idea of hurting yourself to go and get into something else that can hurt yourself, especially dehydrating your brain prior to getting your head rattled. It's just not something that I like. So every fight, as I've progressed forward, I've been trying to be lighter every time that I wake up the night before. It's just part of the sport. So I'm not a small 55er in my frame at least, but I don't put on a ton of weight. I'm in the low 70s when I fight.
Yeah, you said you're not small. You're actually very tall for the weight class. One thing
yeah.
You're about 6 foot, right?
Yeah, right around there.
So one thing I was just wondering about is the early weigh-in seems to be affecting a lot of the fighters. Last week we had Johnny Hendricks miss weight, Ray Borg miss weight. I mean, it seems like every card guys are missing weight. Do you have any concerns about the early weigh-ins? A lot of people are saying that it changes their schedule and they're not used to it. You have any concerns being it's your first time to doing that?
So I suppose I do have concerns about it, but I love that it's happening to give the fighters more time to recover. It would be nice if the window was maybe a little bit longer. I think you have to make weight by 11. If they gave you a little bit more time, I think that would be really nice. I want to make weight as early as possible and not sit around at all. I'm used to going to the sauna and starting my weight cuts around like 12 o'clock. I usually try and sleep in, wake up, and then get there and cut the weight within like 2 hours or so, and then wait around until it's time to get on the scale. So the idea of not having to sit around and keep your body in that state is definitely awesome, but the fact that you only have until 11 a.m. to do it is definitely a little bit tough.
So we're Southern New England guys. We obviously keep a strong view of New England people. Unfortunately, New England we're not really known as a hotbed for MMA. You don't get as many top fighters as you do in California and Florida and these other states. My question is being that you're from Maine and there's not too many fighters who've reached the UFC, have you come into any contact with any guys who fought in the UFC? And then if so, have they given you any advice about your first time fighting in the UFC?
I'm in contact with some guys that have been in the UFC or at least know a lot about it. One of my friends, Tyson Chartier, he manages a ton of fighters from the UFC. He trains at a very good gym, and he manages a lot of guys from City of Tong. And I definitely got a couple tips here and there about it. But my fiance is dealing with everything for me as far as paperwork, dealing with the corners, making sure they have all their licensing, everything in there, dealing with their rental car, basically everything except for me going to training has been taken care of. So I really haven't had much stress with anything. And the UFC is very on you as far as making sure everything is taken care of that you need to be able to compete on, fight night.
So when do you fly out to Phoenix?
The Wednesday before, so the 11th, I believe it is.
So once UFC Fight Night 103 is all said and done, how does the night end for Devin Powell?
With my hand up. That's all I can say. There's not one way or the other that I'm looking to end the fight, but I'm always looking for a finish, and he is as well. So expect fireworks and my goal. Fight tooth and nail, go through hell and high water, and back again to get that hand raised.
So your hand gets raised. It seems like a lot of fighters, they're trying to make a name for themselves by calling someone out. Do you have anybody in mind you'd like to see next? Anybody you plan on calling out? Anything like that?
No, not whatsoever. I am 100% focused on this kid. This kid has the ability to put anybody's lights out, and he's training with Benson Henderson at the lab, with some of the best fighters in the world. He's coming to brawl, so to think about another person before I get in there with him is not something I want to do. I'll think about that after.
All right, so we gotta. You didn't want to make a prediction how you would win your fight, so we're gonna put a little pressure on you. Main event is the return of BJ Penn. He's fighting Yair Rodriguez. You got a prediction for that fight?
I'm taking BJ.
Taking BJ. All right. You think he's gonna return and look like the old BJ?
Yeah, I think I'm taking BJ by sub.
All right. So we're gonna let you get out of here. The one thing we just want to ask you to do, we have all our fighters do, is just say, "Hey, this is Devin Powell, and I've submitted to the takeover."
All right, cool. Hey, this is Devin Powell, and I submitted to the takeover.
Devin, we wish you luck. We'll all be rooting for you, and welcome to the MMA Takeover family.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. You take care.